What would you do if elite soldiers told you your rifle was too small and your hands were too weak to handle real combat shooting? Well, that's exactly what they told Sergeant Maria Santos before she proved them all wrong in the most spectacular way possible. From which city in the world are you watching this video today? If this story resonates with you, consider subscribing for more tales of unrecognized heroes. Sergeant Maria Santos stood at the edge of the Special Forces training facility at Fort Bragg, her compact M4 carbine looking almost delicate compared to the heavy weapons carried by the Green Berets around her. At 5'6" and 135 pounds, she was easily the smallest person on the range that scorching August morning, and everyone made sure she knew it. The Advanced Marksmanship Assessment was the kind of test that separated elite soldiers from everyone else. Only the top 2% of military personnel were even invited to attempt it, and the failure rate was brutal. Out of the 20 candidates who had gathered that morning, Maria was the only woman, the only non-special forces operator, and the only one carrying what the others considered inadequate equipment. "Santos, you sure you brought the right rifle?" Staff Sergeant Jake Morrison called out, his voice carrying across the range with the casual cruelty that seemed to follow her everywhere. Morrison was a 10-year Green Beret veteran with arms like tree trunks and a chest full of combat ribbons. "That thing looks like it belongs at a county fair shooting gallery." The comment earned a round of chuckles from the other candidates, all of whom carried heavy-barrel precision rifles with high-end optics and custom modifications. Maria's M4 was standard issue, compact, and designed for mobility rather than long-range precision shooting. To the Special Forces operators gathered around her, it looked like she had brought a knife to a gunfight. "Maybe we should find her something more appropriate," Sergeant First Class Tommy Rodriguez added, hefting his own rifle, which weighed twice as much as Maria's. "Real combat shooting requires real equipment." Maria had heard it all before. In her 8 years in the Army, she had been underestimated more times than she could count. Her size, her equipment, her quiet demeanor, everything about her seemed to invite skepticism from the kind of alpha personalities that dominated Special Operations Forces. But Maria had learned long ago that underestimation could be the most powerful weapon in her arsenal. While others talked, she listened. While others postured, she prepared. And while others made assumptions about her capabilities, she quietly went about the business of being the best marksman in any room she entered. The Advanced Marksmanship Assessment was designed to test every aspect of precision shooting under stress. Candidates would face 15 different shooting scenarios, each more challenging than the last. Moving targets, extreme distances, adverse weather conditions, time pressure, and equipment failures. Every variable that could affect accuracy in combat situations. Master Sergeant Robert Chen, the range instructor, called the group to attention. Chen was a legend in Special Forces circles, a former Delta Force operator who had more confirmed kills than anyone cared to count. His word was law on the range, and his assessment could make or break a military career. "Gentlemen," Chen began, his eyes scanning the assembled candidates before settling briefly on Maria. "And lady, welcome to the most challenging marksmanship test in the U.S. military. Over the next 4 hours, you will face scenarios designed to push your shooting skills beyond their limits." He gestured toward the range, which stretched for over a mile and included everything from standard bullseye targets to moving mechanical silhouettes, elevated platforms, and obstacles designed to simulate real combat conditions. "The scoring is simple," Chen continued. "Each scenario is worth a maximum of 100 points. A score of 85 or higher is considered passing. Anything below 70 is immediate disqualification. The average score for Green Beret candidates is 78. The record for this course is 91, set by a Delta Force operator in 2019. Morrison leaned toward Rodriguez. $20 says she doesn't make it past the 5th scenario." "I'll take that bet," Rodriguez whispered back. "But I'm thinking 3rd scenario. That compact rifle won't handle the wind at 600 yards. Maria heard the exchange but showed no reaction. She had spent the previous night studying the range layout, memorizing wind patterns, and calculating ballistic trajectories for every possible shooting position. While the Green Berets had been drinking beer and swapping war stories, she had been preparing. The first scenario was deceptively simple. 5 shots at a standard bullseye target from 100 yards, standing position, no time limit. It was designed to establish baseline accuracy and calm nerves before the real challenges began. The candidates lined up at the firing line. Morrison went first, his heavy rifle booming as he placed 5 shots in a tight group just outside the 10 ring. Solid shooting, but not spectacular. Rodriguez followed with similar results. One by one, the Green Berets demonstrated competent but unremarkable marksmanship. When Maria's turn came, she stepped to the line with quiet confidence. Her M4 felt like an extension of her body as she raised it to her shoulder. The first shot broke clean, punching through the center of the target. The second shot opened the hole slightly. By the 5th shot, she had created a single ragged hole in the dead center of the bullseye. Chen examined the target through his binoculars and made a note on his scorecard. Santos, 100 points. Perfect score. The range fell silent for a moment. Morrison's confident expression faltered slightly. Rodriguez stopped smiling. Lucky start, Morrison muttered, but his voice lacked its earlier conviction. The second scenario ramped up the difficulty. 10 shots at multiple targets from 200 yards, prone position, with a 2-minute time limit. The Green Berets approached it with professional competence, but the increased distance and time pressure began to show in their scores. Most managed scores in the mid-80s. Maria settled into her prone position with the fluid grace of someone completely comfortable with her equipment. Her breathing slowed, her heart rate dropped, and her world narrowed to the precise relationship between her rifle, the targets, and the microscopic adjustments needed for perfect accuracy. 10 shots, 10 bullseyes. Another perfect score. Chen's expression remained neutral, but he was beginning to take notice. Santos, 100 points. Running total, 200. By the third scenario, the mood on the range had shifted. The casual confidence of the Green Berets was being replaced by focused concentration as they realized they were being outshot by someone they had dismissed as inadequate. The third test pushed the distance to 400 yards and added wind as a factor. Flags along the range snapped and twisted in the unpredictable Carolina breeze, making accurate shooting a test of both skill and intuition. Morrison's group began to tighten, his shots scattered by wind calls that were just slightly off. Rodriguez struggled with elevation, several of his rounds hitting low. The other candidates fought similar battles against the elements. Maria studied the wind flags for a full minute before taking her first shot. She had grown up on a ranch in Texas, where accurate shooting was a necessity rather than a hobby. Her father had taught her to read wind patterns by watching grass, dust, and the flight of birds. The mechanical wind flags on the range told her a story that the Green Berets, for all their training, were struggling to interpret. Her first shot hit dead center. Her second shot opened the hole. By her 5th shot, she had once again created a single ragged opening in the center of the target. Jesus Christ, Morrison said, no longer bothering to whisper. How is she doing that? Chen announced the scores. Most of the Green Berets had dropped into the 70s and 80s. Maria remained perfect. Santos, 100 points. Running total, 300. The fourth scenario introduced moving targets. Mechanical silhouettes traveled laterally across the range at 300 yards, requiring candidates to lead their targets and time their shots perfectly. This was where combat experience was supposed to matter most. The Green Berets attacked the challenge with aggressive confidence, but moving target shooting required a delicate touch that their heavy weapons and forceful personalities worked against. Shots that would have been perfect on stationary targets missed by inches as they overcompensated for movement or mistimed their trigger pulls. Maria approached the moving targets with the same calm precision she had shown on the stationary ones. She tracked each silhouette smoothly, her rifle moving in perfect synchronization with the target's path. When she pulled the trigger, it was with the natural timing of someone who had hunted moving game since childhood. 5 moving targets. 5 direct hits. "This is impossible," Rodriguez said, his earlier dismissiveness replaced by genuine amazement. "Nobody shoots that clean on moving targets with a carbine." Chen's announcement confirmed what everyone could see. Santos, 100 points. Running total, 400. The whispers on the range were no longer derogatory. They were awed. The fifth scenario was where most candidates began to fail. Extreme distance shooting at 800 yards, with crosswinds and mirage effects that could make even the best shooters look amateur. The Green Berets' heavy rifles should have given them a significant advantage at this distance. Should have. Morrison went first, his confidence shaken, but his equipment still superior. His first shot hit the outer rings of the target, his second missed entirely. By his fifth shot, he had managed a respectable but not outstanding group that earned him 78 points. Rodriguez fared slightly better with 82 points, but his shots were scattered across the target face rather than grouped tightly. When Maria stepped to the line, every eye on the range was focused on her. 800 yards was beyond the effective range of most M4 carbines. The conventional wisdom was that her weapon simply couldn't perform at that distance. Maria had studied the ballistics tables for her specific rifle and ammunition combination. She knew exactly how much her bullets would drop over 800 yards, and she had calculated the precise holdover needed to compensate. More importantly, she understood that consistent shooting technique was more valuable than expensive equipment. Her first shot hit the center ring. Her second shot was closer to the center. By her fifth shot, she had created another tight group that, while not perfect, was better than anything the Green Berets had managed. Santos, 96 points. Running total, 496. The range was completely silent except for the wind and the distant sound of other training exercises. Chen looked at his scorecard and then at Maria, his expression showing professional respect for the first time. "Outstanding shooting, Sergeant Santos." The remaining scenarios continued to separate Maria from the field. Night shooting with thermal optics, rapid engagement of multiple targets, shooting from awkward positions, equipment malfunction drills. Each test was designed to expose weaknesses and break down technique under stress. The Green Berets fought valiantly, but their scores continued to drop as the challenges mounted. The psychological pressure of being consistently outshot by someone they had underestimated began to affect their performance. Maria remained steady throughout. Her scores varied slightly, a 94 here, a 98 there, but she never dropped below 90 points on any scenario. Her technique remained consistent, her breathing controlled, her trigger pulls clean and straight. By the 13th scenario, it was mathematically impossible for any of the Green Berets to catch her. By the 14th, she had broken the course record by a margin that stunned everyone present. The 15th and final scenario was designed as the ultimate test: rapid engagement of 15 targets at varying distances, under time pressure, with limited ammunition. It was the closest thing to actual combat conditions that could be simulated on a training range. Maria approached the final test with the same calm professionalism she had shown throughout the day. As the timer started, she moved smoothly from target to target, her M4 barking out precise shots with mechanical regularity. Target after target fell to her accurate fire. Near targets, far targets, elevated targets, partially concealed targets. Each one fell to a single, perfectly placed shot. When the smoke cleared and the timer stopped, Maria had achieved something that no one in the course's history had ever accomplished: a perfect score on the final scenario. 15 targets, 15 shots, 15 bullseyes. Chen walked the range to verify the targets personally, his expression growing more incredulous with each confirmation. When he returned to the firing line, he looked at his scorecard for a long moment before speaking. "Ladies and gentlemen, we have a new course record. Sergeant Santos has achieved a total score of 1,496 out of a possible 1,500 points. That's not just a new record, it's a score that rewrites what we thought was possible on this course." The Green Berets, who had mocked her equipment and questioned her capabilities, stood in stunned silence. Morrison, who who had started the day making jokes about her toy rifle, could only shake his head in amazement. "Ma'am," he said, approaching Maria with genuine respect, "I owe you an apology. That was the finest shooting I've ever witnessed." Rodriguez nodded in agreement. "Where did you learn to shoot like that?" Maria smiled for the first time that day. "My father taught me that shooting isn't about having the biggest gun or the strongest grip. It's about understanding your equipment, reading conditions, and making every shot count." Chen stepped forward, his professional demeanor giving way to genuine admiration. "Sergeant Santos, in 20 years of running this course, I've never seen anything like what you accomplished today. You didn't just break records, you redefined what we consider possible." He paused, looking at the assembled Green Berets who had started the day dismissing her capabilities. "I think there's a lesson here for all of us about assumptions and respect." The impact of Maria's performance extended far beyond that single day at Fort Bragg. Within hours, word of her record-breaking score had spread throughout the Special Operations community. Videos of her final 15 shots were analyzed frame by frame at military academies around the world. Colonel Patricia Williams, the commanding officer of the Special Warfare School, arrived at the range within hours of receiving Chen's report. She had served for 25 years and had never seen scores like what Maria had achieved. "Sergeant Santos," Colonel Williams said as she reviewed the targets, "what you've accomplished here changes everything we thought we knew about precision marksmanship." Maria stood at attention, still processing the magnitude of what had happened. "Ma'am, I was just doing my job." "Your job?" Williams looked at the scorecard again. "Sergeant, you didn't just break the course record, you obliterated it. You scored higher than Delta Force operators, Navy SEALs, and Marine Force recon snipers. Your technique needs to be studied and replicated." Over the following weeks, Maria found herself at the center of a revolution in military marksmanship training. Her shooting videos became mandatory viewing at Quantico, West Point, and the Naval Academy. Military contractors studied her equipment modifications, discovering that her inadequate M4 had been precisely tuned for maximum accuracy through hundreds of small adjustments. Dr. Jennifer Walsh, a sports psychology professor from Duke University, was brought in to analyze Maria's mental approach. "What's remarkable," Dr. Walsh explained to a gathering of military instructors, "is how Sergeant Santos maintains perfect emotional control under extreme pressure. While others become tense and overthink, she enters what we call a flow state, total harmony between mind, body, and equipment." The psychological profile revealed something that the Green Berets had missed entirely. Maria's quiet demeanor wasn't weakness or lack of confidence. It was the mark of someone who had learned to channel nervous energy into precise focus. Her small stature wasn't a disadvantage. It provided stability and reduced the physical fatigue that affected larger shooters during extended sessions. Morrison and Rodriguez, initially embarrassed by being outshot so dramatically, became two of Maria's most vocal supporters. They worked with her to develop new training protocols that emphasized technique over equipment, mental preparation over physical intimidation. "She taught us that we were training wrong," Morrison admitted during a later interview. "We were so focused on having the biggest, heaviest, most expensive equipment that we forgot the fundamentals. Maria showed us that perfect technique with basic equipment beats advanced equipment with sloppy technique every time." The Special Forces community, traditionally resistant to change, embraced Maria's methods with unprecedented enthusiasm. Her compact rifle setup became the new standard for mobility-focused operations. Her breathing techniques were incorporated into sniper training curricula. Her approach to reading environmental conditions revolutionized how military marksmen prepared for challenging shots. But perhaps the most important change was cultural. Maria's performance had shattered assumptions about gender, equipment, and capability that had existed for decades. Female candidates began arriving at Special Forces schools in increasing numbers, inspired by her example. The mockery and dismissiveness that had once greeted unconventional approaches were replaced by respectful evaluation of actual performance. Training protocols were revised to emphasize technique over equipment. Assumptions about weapon requirements were questioned and ultimately changed. Maria was invited to join the Special Forces Advanced Marksmanship Training Unit as an instructor, making her the first woman to serve in that capacity. Her techniques and insights became required study for all Special Operations marksmen. But perhaps most importantly, her performance served as a powerful reminder that excellence comes in many forms, and that the most dangerous mistake any warrior can make is underestimating an opponent based on appearance or equipment. The compact M4 that had earned so much derision that morning was later displayed in the Special Forces Museum with a plaque that read, "The rifle is only as accurate as the person behind it. Master your craft, not just your equipment." Years later, when new candidates arrived at Fort Bragg for advanced marksmanship assessment, instructors would tell them about the day a quiet sergeant with a toy rifle taught the Green Berets that precision shooting was about skill, not size. And somewhere in that story, between the mockery at the beginning and the respect at the end, was a lesson that every warrior needed to learn. Never judge a fighter by their equipment, and never underestimate the power of perfect preparation meeting unexpected opportunity. Maria Santos had proven that the most devastating shot doesn't always come from the biggest gun. Sometimes it comes from the most prepared mind and the steadiest hands, regardless of their size. The Green Berets learned that day that excellence isn't about meeting expectations. It's about exceeding them so completely that assumptions themselves become obsolete. And on a hot August morning at Fort Bragg, 15 perfect shots had rewritten the rules of what was possible, one bullseye at a time.